This is the Behind the Line podcast, coming to you from the wacky left coast capital of Seattle. News from the Pacific Northwest, the left coast, the U.S., and the world that matters. Stories the MSM won't talk about. Deciphering the truth through all the lies. For more, visit BehindTheLinePodcast.com.
The Hurricane Helene story just continues to get worse as we watch our totally inept federal government continue to say they're doing everything they can and the people are happy with it. Listen to this interview with Biden. He didn't even know what storm the reporter was asking him about. This is the commander-in-chief. He is clueless.
Cheney not only did something that took courage, but physical courage. She is her father's daughter.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay?
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. And they're very happy across the board. So we just got to, I'm going to have to go back to the Congress and get some more money.
He doesn't even know what storm they're talking about. This is the guy coordinating disaster relief. FEMA is saying that they're out of money. They're broke. It's gone. They claim they've got enough to get through this disaster. But if another hurricane hits, which Florida is looking at a Category 5, the biggest hurricane to hit in the last 100 years, they said they won't have enough money for any more storms this year, so they're trying to get Congress to pass a funding bill. Currently, the FEMA Disaster Relief Fund is $20 billion, and $8 billion of that is set aside for recovery from previous storms. This whole thing about money being diverted to illegal immigrants for the FEMA Shelter and Services Program, which budget is $640 million for 2024, up from $363 million for 2023. More than $1 billion has been spent in the last 2 years on non-citizen services. The government has offered Hurricane Helene victims $750 checks, well, direct deposit, which doesn't do a whole lot of good when you don't have access to ATMs or electronic services because the power is out, and it will be out probably for months for a lot of those people, maybe longer. FEMA is talking about rebuilding infrastructure. Oh, they donated 50 Starlink satellites to help work on rebuilding radio towers and cell towers and bridges. That is not going to help these people right now. This FEMA money that was given to immigrants, of course, is distributed to cities and organizations that will put the money out to where it needs to go. FEMA doesn't directly give money, generally speaking, although there's some talk that they were giving money directly to illegals at the border. So in places like Chicago, they're giving these illegal migrants $9,000 of FEMA money for 6 months of rent and also paying for furniture for their new apartment or house or whatever. Cities, especially blue cities all across the country, are doing this or something like this, although the dollar amounts may differ. For Chicago, they assume in 6 months these illegal migrants could have their paperwork in order, have a job, and be paying their own bills. Not only is this unrealistic, but how many of these people don't speak English? How are they going to get a job? This administration is taking your tax dollars and giving billions to other countries. Ukraine has gotten $24.5 billion. Israel, $11.3 billion. Ethiopia, $2 billion. Jordan, $1.5 billion. Egypt, $1.5 billion. Afghanistan, they're paying the Taliban. Terrorists, $1.1 billion. Somalia, $1.1 billion. Yemen, $1 billion. Congo, $987 million. Syria, $896 million. And just this last week, Anthony Blinken announced $175 million for Lebanon, while Israel is still actively bombing them. We are funding both sides of that war. Plenty of money for everyone except Americans. Americans in desperate need. Mayorkus maintains that no funds were diverted from disaster relief to SSP, but the money in SSP could have been used for disaster relief. So it's word salad, as usual with this administration. Had they not spent $2 billion of FEMA funds in the last 2 years on illegal migrants, that money would have been available for disaster relief. FEMA has said there will be no money if another hurricane hits this year. Florida, like I said, is expecting to get the hurricane early this week. FEMA also maintains they are not confiscating relief donations and that they do not even accept relief donations. However, they have stated when semi-trucks with relief items can't get into an area because of the storm damage, they are taking those items to areas accessible by roads. Instead of just staging relief items and using helicopters or off-road vehicles to deliver the relief items, again, more word salad. Check out this tweet and picture of a private organization trying to distribute relief, only to have an army helicopter hover over them at a low altitude until their distribution area was blown apart and then flew away. So what that tweet says is some context in Blumsville, North Carolina, which is one of the hardest hit areas by Helene. The United Cajun Navy set up a donation distribution site early in the week. Once it was running smoothly, they moved on to deeper areas to continue search and rescue and left this site in the hands of the locals. That was yesterday, October 5th. As of tonight, October 6th, it's been destroyed. Person sent these photos. A helicopter circled and lowered down enough to destroy everything and took off. The guy was really shaken up. Now ask yourself, why would they do that? It's not just the moronic Democrats either. Listen to warmonger Lindsey Graham when asked about North Carolina.
You can thank Donald Trump and Elon Musk for that.
You know, I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I hadn't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. Our friends in Israel are surrounded by people that want to kill them, destroy them, a second Holocaust in the making. And Biden says be proportional. What is the proportional response to people who want to kill you and your family? God. They're running out of ammunition in Israel. We have to help our friends to keep the war over there from coming here. They're willing to...
He's more worried about getting bombs and bullets to our friends in Israel. The media is covering for FEMA, as is the White House press secretary, who says there's no truth to FEMA funds being diverted to illegal migrants. But listen to her own words now in 2024 and back in 2022.
Just categorically false. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
Check this out. Feds say there is no money left to respond to her.
The government doesn't care about Americans. They have made that perfectly clear with this pathetic response to a large-scale disaster. If this doesn't give you a reason to prep, I don't know what will. You are watching this in real time. No one is coming to help you, and while you can't prepare for every scenario, you can be in a basic state of readiness for disasters in general. It's your family's insurance policy. No one is coming to save you. A little pre-storm history for North Carolina. President Joe Biden's deputies were allocated roughly $750 million to settle thousands of diverse migrants in North Carolina alone since 2021. The spending shows the administration's preference for migration, while many Americans in North Carolina lack decent jobs, homes, and schools. The preference continues even after the hurricane disaster killed hundreds and wrecked a myriad of communities around Asheville. This week, federal officials are offering a $750 fast-track loan to each victim of the hurricane disaster. The migration spending was tracked by a pseudo-anonymous researcher who runs the randoland.us website. The biggest project in North Carolina is a $536 million program to operate an 800-bed refugee reception center in Greensboro, North Carolina. That funding comes through a governmental department created to help American families and children, dubbed the Administration for Children and Families. The ACF is part of the Department of Health and Human Services. The website reports additional spending for refugees in North Carolina. Over $221 million in primary grant awards have been issued during the Biden administration for refugee aid and assistance services to be performed in North Carolina. These grants were issued to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and to various religious and non-religious nonprofit organizations. More than 200 sub-grants were issued with these funds throughout the state to local governments, the site said. In 2024, these programs delivered 3,462 more migrants into North Carolina, according to an end-of-year report by nonprofit group, the Refugee Processing Center. The population included 413 people from Venezuela, 574 people from the Congo, 302 people from Burma, 317 people from Afghanistan, all of whom must be expensively educated, trained, and supported to help them avoid poverty in America's society. Imagine if that money was used for poor Americans or Americans in need, or in this case, a massive natural disaster which has turned the state upside down. But they're more concerned about illegal migrants and helping these people who have come to this country illegally. This is your government at work. Alright, well, I think all this evidence and what we're watching with our own eyes speaks for itself about this administration. I'm going to end this video with a message from Bear Independent, who runs Grindstone Ministries. Many of you probably watch his channel. Grindstone has deployed more than 40 times in disaster areas, and now they've deployed to Tennessee, and he is giving you the no-shit rundown of what's going on there. If you're looking for a charity to donate money or supplies to, this is it. He's legit, and you can rest assured your donations are going to go where he says they are and where they're needed. So take a listen. Thanks for listening, folks.
We are good on volunteers right now. After the 14th of October, we will need more volunteers. So if you want to come serve, you email serve@grindstoneministries.com. Serve@grindstoneministries.com. What do you need? Blah, 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 blah. All that is on the website at grindstoneministries.com. So go check that out. Please do not email me or social media me links, questions, any of that. All of that goes to grindstoneministries.com. I'm up here at the strategic level trying to figure all this stuff out. So, and especially sending me videos. Bear, you got to watch this video. No, I didn't have to watch that shit beforehand. I definitely don't have the time or the literal bandwidth to watch it now. Okay, so please don't do that. What else? The situation in Western Tennessee, as far as governance is concerned, is good. TEMA, Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, is not confiscating supplies. Okay? They're relocating supplies, many of which were located in school. Schools are starting back in 9 days. Can't have school in a building filled with supplies. So those supplies are being relocated to Bristol Motor Speedway by Tennessee Emergency Management Agency. That's intentional. TEMA is working with Grindstone to disperse those goods, those supplies as needed. But we have to know what we have, which is why they're going to Bristol, so they can be inventoried, and because there's enough room at Bristol to hold everything, then be pushed back out. They're not being confiscated, they're being moved. That being said, the stuff that is at churches is by being left alone, because churches already function as a volunteer resource center and as a distribution center. So there's a lot of bullshit on the internet about they're confiscating things, put them in the churches, they can't go in the churches. We're not confiscating things on the Tennessee side. Again, separate Tennessee from North Carolina. Nothing's being confiscated. It's being relocated so it can be inventoried, so it can be pushed back out into the community. And we don't need to relocate anything from churches because they have the space to hold it, and they already have the network of people to push it out into the community as needed. So that's all good. On the North Carolina side, things are very, very different. FEMA appears to have established a cordon around the disaster-affected area, and they are not, by and large, letting supplies in, because of declared emergency doesn't exist in North Carolina, which people have gone back and forth the why and the legalities and the morals and ethics of that, but because it doesn't exist, the sheriff in each county is still the highest elected official, which is good, which means the sheriff can tell people to pound sand, and in many cases they have told people to pound sand, people being FEMA. And so supplies are getting in drips and drabs. Grindstone has established what we are calling the Ho Chi Musk Trail to literally, on our backs if necessary, bring Starlinks from Tennessee into North Carolina behind enemy lines. We also have helos. We're also working on craft boats, and we will need barges as well. This is literally sea, air, and land at this point. There are critical needs as far as supplies and infrastructure are concerned. There is an Amazon wish list. I don't love giving Jeff Bezos money, but all of the things that we need, or most of the things we need, can be found on Amazon, and it aggregates. And so if you want to pour in that way, you can visit Amazon and just search for Grindstone Ministries, and you'll find the Grindstone's wish list that it's being updated, populated regularly. If you go on there and everything's sold out, check back a half a day or a day later. More things will be posted there as needs arise. North Carolina is a shit show. North Carolina is bad. And so we are running cross-border operations against the recommendation of Pete Buttigieg and the FAA, Aviation Authority, and whoever else don't care for the preservation of life. There are people over there that need help. So we're doing that. So FEMA confiscating supplies going to illegals may, based upon the current intel picture, not is, but may be happening on the North Carolina side. It is not happening on the Tennessee side, which is why our FOB is in Tennessee. And we're Grindstone. We're a nationally registered 501c3. This is our 46th deployment, and not our first rodeo. And so we have the same authority as the American Red Cross, and we are actually out there, boots on the ground, getting stuff done. That being said, this storm and the response to this storm are both unprecedented. The scope of this, the scale of this is massive. It's unheard of. And we've been there now 9 days. We are in the 9th day of the Great American Captivity. We're going to need more volunteers. We're going to need more supplies. We're going to need more resources for months and months and months. And the way the media cycle works is nobody's already talking about this at a national media level. And those that are talking about this at the media level will be moved on to something else in a couple of weeks. So please don't forget us. That being said, if you have a following, if you are a content creator, or if you are with a media outlet, reach out, surf at grindstoneministries.com and put media in the subject line. You are welcome at our FOB. You are welcome to go out and report and push this information out, because part of what is happening is an information blackout on this entire situation, probably for one or more reasons. One is the federal government is not doing anything about this. They don't have the money. They've blown their budget for disaster on bringing militant illegal criminals across our southern border. And that's blowing up in Kamala's face, and so they're not talking about it. The other is, it very really looks like, I cannot confirm, but it very really looks like there is an attempt at a federal land grab in western North Carolina going on right now, due to the criticality of the infrastructure that's located there. specifically certain types of mines that produce certain types of product. Which rumor, maybe not, mining permits on September 24, 2004 were submitted by BlackRock for these areas that were then hit by a storm. I can't confirm that, and it doesn't change the situation on the ground. But there's a media blackout on this intentionally. That's why they don't want Starlinks in the North Carolina. But as a result of no Starlinks in the North Carolina, people are dying because without commo, there's no logistics. Without logistics, you can't win the war. So that's a little bit of an update from the field. Please visit grindstoneministries.com. Please do not contact me on social media. I already have extremely limited bandwidth, literal and figurative. Reach out to serve@grindstoneministries.com. Expect from this channel maybe some disruption as far as the frequency of posting is concerned, because I literally don't have the bandwidth. It is not possible for me to upload videos, to go live. Lastly, we've had some people from certain assemblies in certain parts of the world reach out to us wanting to come and donate their time, and these assemblies know who they are. I'll just say this. I am in no way friends with anybody that harbors pedophiles or tolerates the presence of pedophiles in their congregations, and you know exactly who you are. And we know exactly who you are. And so I would appreciate it if you just stay your happy ass home. Fuck around and find out. That being said, I love every one of y'all, and I'll see you when I see you. Shalom.
Thanks for listening to the Behind the Line podcast. For more, visit behindthelinepodcast.com, leftcoastnews.net, or shtf.net. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts, and anywhere else podcasts are found. Please subscribe, like, and share to get our content out there. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, Truth Social, Gab, Telegram, Substack, Brighteon, Rumble, the Newscaster Studio, and all other forms of social media. Thanks for listening.